All right, first off, I'd like to say I got to do a much better job of coaching. Over the last 3 weeks, we have been absolutely terrible in pass defense. Special teams haven't been very good either. They've been very inconsistent and really bad in the San Jose game. On offense, we were good for 2 weeks and then really kind of poor against Fresno State. So obviously, I'm doing a terrible job of coaching. Okay. Second off, we play Hawaii this week, and I would guess that Hawaii feels exactly the same way we do. When you watch them on film, they're much more talented and have the ability to play much better than they've been playing. And I'm sure they're frustrated and want to win a game very bad. That's the same we are. I think that we have enough talent to be better than we are. So it comes down to coaching, but I'm sure we're all frustrated. I'm frustrated. We're all frustrated. And the only way to make that better is to be able to win a game. So I imagine both teams want to win this game very bad. The talent level is very equal, so it ought to be a heck of a game.
You say a terrible job of coaching. What do you think you could have done better or different in those last 2 weeks?
I mean, when you're doing things and they don't work right, you have to adjust how you do things. And we've tried to adjust over the last couple of weeks, especially on pass defense, and for a little bit of the time it would work. And then eventually the other team would adjust to what we were doing differently, and the results ended up the same. So we have to adjust what we're doing and do it better so that our players understand the scheme better and perform better.
Are you planning on maybe switching anything up defensively in practice this week?
No, we're going to practice the same.
How about personnel-wise?
No, we're going to play the guys who we've been playing. They're our best players.
What would you say was most frustrating about those 2 losses?
Well, I think the most frustrating thing is on special teams in the San Jose game. We gave them 14 points, or actually 17 points on special teams. Otherwise, you win that game. Last week, we made some big plays on defense, which gave us a chance and kept us in the game, gave us a chance to win it, but we couldn't do anything on offense.
And Leon McFadden's been really the only sure thing week in, week out this season. What has he meant for the team so far in this early part of the season?
I mean, he's made a lot of big plays. I think he's intercepted a pass in each of the last 3 games. 2 of them he's returned for touchdowns, so he's having a great year. But that's just like one guy on offense having a great year and not scoring enough points to win, one guy on defense. You can't win games unless you got 11 guys on both sides of the ball playing well, and then 11 guys on whatever special teams out there playing well. And we don't have anybody playing really well on special teams. We don't have anybody playing really well on offense. And we're terrible in pass defense, so we don't have anybody playing really well in pass defense. So if you want to blame it on a talent level, that's you can do that, or you can believe you've got enough talent to be a pretty good competitive football team. And if they're not performing at that level, it's obviously a coaching error.
I'm sure you've been in this situation before. How does the team rally after tough 2 losses like that?
I've been in this situation more than I want to remember. I mean, I've been around teams that struggled really bad in pass defense. I've been around teams that struggled really bad in run defense. I've been around teams that couldn't score a point. And there's only one way to do it. Now, the positive, you want the real positive of everything. Our kids play hard. You haven't seen one sign, even though we've been struggling, you haven't seen one sign of them giving up. You haven't seen one side of them not playing physical. You haven't seen one side of them not playing hard. So as long as they'll practice hard and play like that, if we find the right formula or the hot button as a coach, we're going to be fine. If we don't ever find the hot button as a coach, we're going to be like this the whole year. And then you got to reevaluate things in the off season and change a bunch of things in the off season. But I'm counting on our kids to continue to play hard, and I count on us being better coaches from here on out.
Coach, you talk about how you have been on teams that have struggled against the pass defensively. What did you do to, I guess, switch it up? Like, how far do you go to dilute your your schemes or change things to make sure that your schemes fit what the kids can do?
Well, over the last 2 weeks, we've changed some scheme things in practice that have really helped us for a little bit of the time. And then as soon as the other team adjusts to what we're doing, we haven't practiced it enough to be efficient or execute it good enough. When they actually figure out what you're doing, we haven't executed well enough to do it. So we haven't practiced it enough. And we can't have 5-hour practices. I mean, we're still only going to practice the same amount of time. So we've done that for 3 weeks, and that hasn't worked. So the other alternative is to reduce your package, probably not give them any trouble whatsoever on them figuring out what you're doing, and be able to execute it better so that your players play better. Now, they'll be able to do some things that hurt it, but if you can execute what you're doing, you should be able to offset that enough to give you a chance to win.
Can you elaborate on some of the things that you guys switched up that worked for a little bit against Fresno State?
Well, we did some zone blitzes. How do you think we got 2 interceptions back for touchdowns? But they also threw for 300 yards against zone blitzes, too. So, and probably, I don't know how many touchdowns were actually zone blitz touchdowns, but there was 2 or 3 of the touchdowns were against zone blitz also. So, I mean, it's diminishing returns. You make 2 big plays because of the zone blitz, but you give up 4 big plays because of the zone blitz. And if your offense is struggling, you can't let them score that many points.
What did your offense struggle last game? I mean, it looked like you just couldn't establish the run like you have in previous weeks.
I don't think we established the run. I don't think we protected the quarterback. So it would have been really nice if the offensive line would have blocked better. Now, I don't think that's a scheme issue, but obviously protecting the quarterback and be able to block on the run, if you're playing against a good defensive front, that's technique, assignment, and technique work. And if the assignments and the technique work's not good enough, then the coaching's not good enough. Either that or we don't have good enough players. And I'm not ever going to say that we don't have good enough players, ever.
Do you feel like the offense has really been steadily getting better and better throughout the season until this game against Fresno?
I thought the offense has played well all year. Yeah, maybe not the Washington game, but they played well for 3 weeks and played poorly last week, basically because we got beat at the line of scrimmage. They were better at the line of scrimmage than we were.
Now, that being said, are you looking forward to facing a Hawaii defense that's lost a couple of defensive linemen to injuries?
I'm not really looking forward to playing anybody. But the competitive spirit in me wants to play today. I wish the game was today, because the only way to make yourself feel better is to be able to go out and play and win. I think that Hawaii's in the exact same situation we are. And if you watch them on film, they've got plenty enough talent. And so, I think it's going to be a good game, because I know they're frustrated and they're going to want to play good, and we're frustrated and we're going to want to play good. So both teams are going to play very aggressively. Both teams are going to play very hard. And what comes down to is the team that executes the best is going to win. I think in the situation they're in and the situation we're in, you can throw what has happened out the window.
Coach, how do you get your offensive line up to speed? I mean, like you're saying, it would be nice if they could block a little better. Like, what do you do as a coach?
You practice. You continue to practice. I mean, we knew we were going to struggle on the offensive line, and that, other than last week, that hasn't been the case. And we knew we were going to struggle in the defensive line, and that has been the case from day one, and it hadn't gotten any better.
What's the status of Dontrell at this point?
He's still taking care of personal issues.
So what do you guys, I guess, without him on your starting defensive line, what do you guys miss?
I don't think we miss anything. I mean, whenever a person has to leave because of personal reasons or being disciplined, it's just like a player getting hurt. I mean, you have to replace them with whoever you got, who's the best guy up, and next guy up, and whoever's the best guy you got, and he's got to perform at the same level. I mean, this is not pro football where you take them off the waiver wires or you take them off the practice squad. This is college football. You play the next guy and hope he plays just as well.
Looking at this next game, what's one thing that has to go for you guys in order to pull out a victory?
We got to be able to stop a pass play.
And Coach, this is the first of 2-game homestand before you guys go to Nevada and then Boise State a few weeks after. How crucial are the 2 games in this homestand for you guys?
I don't think of 2 games in advance. I think of this game. As poorly as we've been playing, especially in pass defense, every game's crucial to get better. And I mean, I'm going to say it again, no game's more important than the one you're playing this week.
When you look at Hawaii, Coach, I mean, their quarterback struggled last game. It doesn't look like they have really established one running back. Like, what do you see out of their offense?
They had a really good running back. I think he got hurt in the SC game. He's supposed to be back for our game. The struggle they had against BYU is because they lost the battle at the line of scrimmage. BYU rushed 4 and the quarterback couldn't get a pass off. They had a 7-man front and they couldn't run the ball. It was totally the line of scrimmage. Against Nevada Reno, if you watch that film, they moved the ball really, really well against Reno. Now they make some mistakes. They fumble a couple times and they throw an interception, but they moved the ball really well. And Nevada Reno might be the best team in our league.
What do you see from them on special teams? I mean, the punter that just came back is pretty good. Looks like it's a big leg.
Yeah, we've only seen him in 1 game, and before that they were using, I think, one of their defensive backs was the punter, and so they were doing all kinds of things in the punting game, sprinting him out, rugby punting. They had about 18 different punt formations, so you had trouble lining up to it. And then last week their punter was back, so they were kind of average. I mean, they do the exact same thing we do. They have a shield punt, and he kicked the heck out of it last week, so I'm sure they're glad he's back. We're hoping that all those formations don't show up because that means you have to practice against all of them.